Emma Hartley's curiosity has failed her many times in her life. Once, during a neighborhood barbecue, she overheard a snippet of conversation about her neighbor's marital problems. Unable to bear it, she made an excuse to visit their home later that week, but was caught peeking at their mail left on the hall table. The incident left her red-faced and her neighbors wary, but it did little to curb her inquisitive tendencies. She kept poking her nose into all matters, most of which did not concern her at all. She was interested in how her friends, neighbors, relatives, and any other person she saw for the first time in her life were doing. If she heard even the slightest hint of gossip, her ears turned into two huge locators. Everyone had long since gotten used to this trait of Emma's character and turned a blind eye to the fact that she was constantly trying to dig through their dirty laundry to find out something about them. Many had the uncomfortable feeling that they were being watched. Emma had been caught and shamed several times for trying to openly find out details about other people's lives, but she couldn't help herself. Her strange nature demanded self-expression. Some of the people who had to put up with her oddities were her daughter and son-in-law, who suffered from her obsessive attention more than anyone else. For example, Emma once showed up unexpectedly at their home during one of their rare dates, claiming to have forgotten something, but lingering and asking a barrage of intrusive questions about their plans for the evening. This habit of hers often disrupted their attempts at privacy, causing them to become frustrated but unable to confront her directly. However, they could not simply stop talking to her. All in all, Emma Hartley was not a bad woman, and if not for her peculiarities, she would have been welcome in any company. Sometimes Ethan and Sarah resorted to her help. When they wanted to be alone, they left the children with their grandmother to enjoy each other's company and support their love by renting the same hotel room. The calculating couple would leave Emma at home with their two children, although the curious woman was constantly tormented by the question of what her in-laws were doing. Her curiosity was so strong that sometimes she couldn't even sleep, thinking that somewhere across town her son-in-law was having fun with her daughter. On one such occasion, the situation reached the point of absurdity. The occasion for another escape from the children was Valentine's Day. Ethan again rented a room he knew well, and having invited his wife there, allowed himself to ask his mother-in-law for another favor. Of course she agreed, because she sincerely loved her relatives and even more so her grandchildren. However, the woman was well aware that, having put the children to bed, she would sit like on pins and needles all evening, tormenting herself with idle curiosity. And so it was. Leaving the children to Emma, Ethan and Sarah happily went to the hotel by cab. At first Emma was absorbed in playing, feeding and bathing her grandchildren, but when it came time to put them to bed, she began to imagine her son-in-law having fun with her daughter. But her images and assumptions turned out to be wrong. Sarah was urgently called into work. She was a well-known, if not popular, doctor who was highly regarded by patients and colleagues alike. At first she had hoped to get in touch with her husband quickly, and said she would call him when the situation with the difficult patient became clearer. Frustrated by the not-so-good start to their adventure, Ethan spent the time alone, but there was still no word from Sarah. With each passing minute, the evening was more and more at risk of ending in failure. Finally, the man saw the long-awaited call from his beloved. "It's bad, darling. I'm here all night." "Well, what can I say? Hang in there, and I'll continue my romantic evening alone." Ethan sighed heavily and decided to go home to at least get some sleep in familiar surroundings. This development was not expected by his mother-in-law, whose sense of curiosity was heightened by the absence of her daughter and son-in-law. After tucking the children in and lying aimlessly in bed, Emma began to survey her surroundings, hoping to see something unusual. Opening the nearest closet, she found to her surprise that some things had immediately fallen on her head. On closer inspection, they turned out to be several pairs of underwear and stockings that Sarah had hastily thrown on the top shelf before leaving for the hotel. They were now scattered all over the bedroom floor. Naturally, the woman began to pick them up and, of course, could not help but examine the treasure she had found. From the sight and variety of Frank outfits, Emma simply ran her eyes over them. Such splendor she had never seen in her life. Suddenly, Emma had a strong desire to try on at least some of the collection. Taking advantage of the fact that the bedroom was locked from the inside and the grandchildren were long since asleep, the woman closed herself in the room and began to slowly undress. Emma examined herself critically in the reflection of the mirror. She looked very good for her age. She chose an outfit she liked and put it on, not noticing that she hadn't heard the key turn the front door lock. When Ethan returned home in a cab, he went to his bed to forget about that unfortunate night. Acting quietly so as not to wake the children, he pushed on the handle of the bedroom door, but it didn't budge. Surprised, he picked up the bunch of keys again and opened the door quickly and easily. What he saw stunned him. Standing before him was his own mother-in-law in the kind of revealing outfit he had only seen a couple of times in his life, and then only on his own wife. "Wait, that's her outfit. What's going on here?" he exclaimed. "You've outdone yourself. Not only are you prying where you shouldn't, but you're going through our stuff," he added. "I can't imagine what will happen if Sarah finds out about this." "Please don't tell her," Emma pleaded, still standing in front of her son-in-law in her outfit. "Ask her anything you want," Ethan thought to himself. He moved closer to his mother-in-law, and without saying a word, ran his hand over her cheek and hugged her. This time it was Emma's turn to be speechless. It was a spontaneous meeting, and therefore unusual and very touching. Half an hour later, they were already resting and catching their breath. "If I am to be reproached later," said Emma, "I suggest you wear this set. I like it better."